Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. I am Aaron St. Dennis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist. I am apparently the bottom bitch today, joined above by Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05 and Jeremy Shulman at FF_Rebel. We are here for some Week 4 game previews, NFC home game previews, because the Thursday nighter is Cowboys at Giants. Let's check in on the comments here. What's up, L. Smith? And then we have someone commenting back from our account on multiple accounts.
Just does what?
Yes, we are about to roll.
Rolling like Limp Biscuit.
We are slightly delayed here, getting off to like I said, a late start, as someone, not going to name any names, may have been sucked into the Vince McMahon documentary and forgot what time we were starting. By someone, I mean me. It does happen. So we will start with this one here. It is the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Where do we want to start? For those of you who have requested graphics, we have the starting 7 on the board. In most cases, I went quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 tight end, and a 3 receiver and a tight end. So kind of your typical starting lineup for a fantasy unit. Some of them do not have 3 receivers or a running back and have 9 tight ends. So we had to be creative. But for this one, this is what it is. So where do you guys want to start with this one?
We have to.
How scary high we all have Daniel Jones this week? Is that a good place to start?
Let's start with Daniel Jones. I mean, this Dallas Cowboys defense has been awful through the first 3 weeks. I don't know what Mike Zimmer thought he was or what Dallas thought Mike Zimmer was, but he's not the Mike Zimmer of old. I don't know if it's the talent that they have there or lack of talent that they have there in Dallas beyond Micah Parsons and maybe 1 or 2 other pieces. But they're just getting gashed weekly. It's also the offense can't really sustain drives and run out the clock because their running game is non-existent. So that's another issue for Dallas. So Daniel Jones is my QB 14 on the week. I do have Jordan Love ahead of him, hedging that Love plays this week. If Love does not play, Daniel Jones moves up automatically. It's possible when it's all said and done. Jones is my QB 12 this week. I think the Giants are going to score a lot of points in this one.
Yeah, it's gross. The Cowboys are giving up the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks because they cannot stop anybody do anything defensively. They can't generate pressures. It's abysmal. And the nice thing about Daniel Jones is he rushes, so he's always going to have a higher floor. Yeah. Now he needs a passing attack, and that's where Malik Neighbors comes in, who we'll get to in a little bit. But Malik Neighbors gives Daniel Jones a chance to be a top 12 quarterback because how good a wide receiver is. So yeah, like I'm fine with that. I have him at QB 13. And that feels like a good spot. I don't want to get too bullish with him because Cowboys still have talent, but yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough in Dallas right now.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure where I have him. I'm working on it right now. I looked and my rankings say I have him as QB 27, but it had occurred to me that I finished my rankings on a spreadsheet, but I have not uploaded them to Fantasy Pros yet, so they are a work in progress. For me, I think I'm going to end up with him being a high-end QB2, so I'm somewhere in the 13 to 15 range, but like I said, I'm in the process here of updating them, so it remains a mystery. We've got some ugly looking, well, okay, I guess before we go into the running backs, Dak, you have Dak higher than DJ still?
Yes. Yeah. A few spots ago. I think I have Dak at QB 10.
I do too. I have him at 10 and 14 is what I have them, which is closer than I expected.
Yeah, it's that range.
Yeah. I have him at 8, but I'm noticing I need to move him down because Baker has a juicy matchup. So he's 9 right now for me.
All right. We have an interesting set of running backs on both sides. Rico Dowdle, Zeke Elliott versus Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy. It's got to be Singletary here as easily the only startable one, I would say. Yes. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Those are your standard, the numbers you see if you're watching, are your standard projections for just basic sleeper default league, half PPR, nothing fancy. So if you see a 21.92, that's not their points per game. That is what sleeper has them projected. I didn't want to mix in our rankings here because try to take out our personal bias here, which we have plenty of. So that's what that is. You are correct. Back to what I was saying. It's a Devin Singletary or bust here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you could flex Rico. He's a top 30 running back for me. But yeah, he needs to take a bigger role of that offense because he's only at like 42% of the total opportunities. Still splitting work. It's slowly creeping along where he's getting more and more work as the season goes on because he's the most explosive back and really the only good back there. So I expect him to go. But yeah, like you're firing up Singletary. He's been really, really good. If you look at his metrics and everything, Singletary's been awesome. I know they let go of Saquon. Everybody says a mistake. He's replaced Saquon just fine. Like, that's not hurting them at all, the loss of Saquon. Like, Singletary's doing the job that they came in to do. It sounds gross because Saquon's going bananas in Philadelphia.
Yeah. And it's Singletary by a lot. He's my RB 18 early on. Zeke is my next close. No, sorry, it's Rico. Rico, a few spots over Zeke. Rico 30, Zeke 34. So it's really ugly in Dallas. I mean, these projections make sense. Singletary, no one else for me.
It's a real shame that Tyrone Tracy landed here because I don't think he's going to be able to take over Devin Singletary like many had hoped. But I think if he had been drafted by the Cowboys, he's easily the RB1 with this. Like, I think he beats out Dowdle and Zeke handily, and it's not even close, but that's just me.
Yeah. We've been hearing all week. I mean, how did Dallas pass on Braylon Allen? I thought that was a lock. I think many people did. They just decided not to draft a running back and instead sign Ezekiel Elliott after the draft. Ridiculous.
Nope, sorry, I didn't do that, but I guess we'd have that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Braylon, like I'll say with Braylon, like his last 2 years were not good in Wisconsin. Like you go back and watch him, he just wasn't that good of a running back. And we're kind of revisioning his history, like how good he was. Like you look at his freshman year, then sophomore, junior year, he was dramatically worse across the board. So like my point was he should have just played better and he would have gotten the job, but he didn't play good enough and just kind of fell out. But now he's in a really good situation and scheme with that offense, and it fits his talents. It makes sense why he's doing so well.
Yeah, but he was 20 and a 4th round pick, right? So I mean,
I think
he also wasn't even a running back going into college. Like they made him into a running back in college. So it's kind of
this trade, I think you got the better quarterback. I think I prefer Wilson over Ayuk. I probably prefer ETN over Montgomery, but it's close. I don't know. This comes down to personal preference. I think you sold low on players, but I like Lamar best, but I think you probably sold low. In the end, I think you probably didn't go up or down. It's kind of an even across the board. You just swapped out different players, slightly better quarterback, slightly worse receiver. I guess I think you're probably the same range, just different names.
And Lamar's got Buffalo this week, so watch out.
Yeah, I mean, you're 0-3. Sometimes you gotta shake it up. And I used to buy low. Like I like buying them Ayuk buy low. It's just Garrett Wilson has significant upside. The one thing you have to worry about with that deal that could go wrong. Otherwise,
Wilson's gonna suck again this week. Who do they got? I forget. Denver, and he's getting Surtain. I forgot. I've written about it all week, and you think I'd remember? J.K. Dobbins for Cup.
That's a win. I'll say it right now.
W.
Absolute win. That's a big dub.
Do we
I have
know
Dobbins on the Fancy Pros article coming out. I have Dobbins as a sell high. Like I'm very much in this rate of thought.
I agree if we know Cup is going to come back, but I've done this in the past with Michael Thomas with he'll be back for week 6 or week 8, and he didn't play for 2 years. So I'm not saying that's the situation. Yeah, I haven't tried to acquire McCaffrey because I
can't.
This is the point where I'm leaning more towards like week 10 at best. Like I think
sell his ass.
If they announce tomorrow he's done for the season, I wouldn't be surprised. But
like they might just hold him out to the playoffs. Like they theoretically they could do that. They are struggling offensively though. Like they're missing those pieces like Kittle, Debo. Like they're going to need McCaffrey back at some point. So
all right, back on track. Mm-hmm. Receivers in this one. Who would have thought this was close? But Malik Neighbors and CD Lamb. I assume I still have Lamb. I do have Lamb as the 1. I have Neighbors at 6 right now. He looks awesome. And then it's a bunch of flyers here. I could start Wandell. I could start Tolbert. I have no interest in Cooks or Hyatt. What do you guys think here? Do you guys still have Lamb over Neighbors?
No.
I struggle with Lamb a little bit because he's not doing what we wanted him to do as far as usage. Neighbors has the best usage in the NFL, and it's not even close. He's on an island by himself. The issue is Daniel Jones. One guy is Dak, one guy is Daniel Jones. I expect it to even out a little bit. I think the 2 guys, it's like Lamb, it's Jefferson, and then you could make a case for anybody, like Malik Neighbors over anybody. That's how good he's playing right now. So Malik Neighbors is 4. I have Rashi Rice.
I did this before once, where I accumulated a bunch of injured studs and I had a loaded team. I missed the playoffs on a tiebreaker by points, and I was the highest scoring team in the playoffs all 3 weeks, and I would have ran away with the championship, but I missed the playoffs. So you got to make sure if you do this, make the playoffs. Otherwise, it doesn't do any good. So
Who's on your bench?
Yeah. So listen, back to CD Lamb, like half PPR. CD Lamb's finishes the first 3 weeks. Wide receiver 24, wide receiver 15, wide receiver 52. He gets the Giants. If the Giants have anything, they have some decent safety play, and they have one good corner. I think they can limit CD Lamb, so he's like my wide receiver 8 or 9. I got Malik at 4 this week. It's going to be very, very good for him.
All right, we got to move on to the tight ends here because we're going to be 45 minutes on this game at this. So Ferguson, I think at this point is basically a locked-in top 5 based on the fact that tight end sucks.
Yes.
And Theo Johnson is it's a dynasty stash for me, but nothing else. Would we agree there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ferguson's the lock. Like, he's one of the few tight ends. I think he has the highest expected fantasy points of any tight end in the NFL right now. Like, that's how bad tight end is.
I'm trying to move him lower than my tight end 2 on the week. I'm struggling. He's my tight end 2 right now.
You don't want to know who my tight end 2 is on the week. I can't even say.
Goddard, baby, let's roll.
Do not.
No. Your favorite player. Yes.
No, you can't. Push him down.
Yeah, it's not. He's not. I think he's tight end 4, but it's that ugly where I'm like, ugh.
I don't know why.
Jordan Mason in the meantime. Yeah. Well, okay, well that's a different story. Starting Daniel Jones over Watson this week.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
We're talking Deshaun. I don't even think that's a decision at this point. That's not even close.
They're scoring the exact same fantasy points per game. Like it's the same thing. It's the same type of discussion. So just play it against on defense. The thing with Watson is he has more rushing yards and attempts. That is what it is for both of these guys. So like I'm fine. They're the same range for me. It's just the vibes are much better with Daniel Jones than they are Watson.
Yeah.
All right, Commanders at Cardinals, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray. This one's going to be close for me. I bet I'd have them both in the top 10. I do. I have Kyler at 3 and Jaden Daniels at 4. This is a juicy matchup. Neither team really plays all that much defense. What do you think here? Just both of them locked and loaded, starting high-end top 5 quarterbacks here?
Yeah, yes. Kyler's QB1 this week. He's playing Washington defense. I don't need to say anything else. Like Washington defense is abysmal. We saw like Burrow was shredding the defense. It's you want to play everyone against Washington. You can.
Yes.
Brilliant, as always. All right, we'll move on to the running backs on that high note. We've got Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, James Conner, Trey Benson. I think I have this one. Conner, Robinson, Eckler, Benson. Probably Conner, Robinson on the 2-3. Probably somewhere in the 2 range, mid-2. And then Eckler's a desperation, I think, and Benson's a stash. What do you guys got?
Well, is there news on Eckler?
Conner at 12.
Yeah, I have Conner's over RB1. Robinson's a back end, like a mid-range RB2 for me. And then depending on the injury with Eckler, that really depends. I haven't heard much on it yet, so I need to look into it. But if he's healthy, I'll fire him up as like a flex.
Yeah. One thing is, you're too low on James Conner. He is my RB6 on the week, ahead of Derrick Henry against Buffalo, ahead of Jonathan Taylor against Pittsburgh. There's some rough matchups for the top backs. This is not one of them. Fire up James Conner with confidence.
Yep, 100%.
There are some rough matchups across the board. I was doing my matchup chart, running back and wide receiver. It's like the top at each position just have the fucking worst matchups you've ever seen. It's kind of a scary week here.
Yep.
The wide receivers, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. I think for me is a low end one. Looking. He's 7. And then it's Terry McLaurin way down. Michael Wilson is maybe a desperation streamer, and I have no interest in anyone else. Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Greg Dortch. What do you guys have here with Harrison and McLaurin?
Yeah, the Cardinals defense is not good either. So I'm fine firing McLaurin. He's like a back end wide receiver too. It was nice to see them actually just go for it at the end of the game. Like where he said he called that shot and Daniels threw it and they got the touchdown. I was like, this is what we've been needing for Terry for 5 years. So yeah, I'm fine with Terry this week. Like I think he's a good matchup.
Yeah, I'm really
I'm
interested.
at 27. I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, he's definitely worth it because he can just do what he did last week again. Marvin Harrison is insanely high for me. He's my wide receiver 5 at the moment. Again, like you said, it's just this matchup is insane. I expect him to look a lot like he did in week 2 once again. When you're talking about the rest of these guys, yeah, it's Terry, but then Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, even Luke McCaffrey, these guys are flex worthy, all of them. If you're in a pinch with injury, I would prefer probably Wilson over the other two just for touchdown upside and the matchup, but I don't have a problem if you flex any of those three.
As far as the tight ends go, it's a bad matchup for both of them. Both teams stop the tight end because they can't stop anything else. I shouldn't say they stop the tight end. I should say they give up so many points to everywhere else that they don't need the tight end. Having said that, you're still starting Trey McBride. I think he's my 4 on the week, 3 on the week. He's my 6 on the week.
You just can't bench Trey McBride. I don't care the matchup. You have to play Trey McBride. Tight end's that bad. Like just it sucks, man. Like I still have him above Ertz even as much as it's fun.
Yeah, although Ertz is higher than he should be. He's like a back end tight end 1. Yes. And there's a lot more guys who are potentially injured and out or limited this week. So I really like both of these guys. I want to answer Jamie real quick. He didn't do that against McLaurin because the Giants have one good corner and they have decent safety play. So that's why the Giants decide to bracket the best wide receiver on the team. That's what's going to happen. He'll be limited. And Jaden Daniels, who knows what he's doing on a weekly basis, still a rookie quarterback. So you'll have your ups and downs.
Mm-hmm. What's this trade offer?
Agreed. So yeah, you guys want to talk about that one? I'll load up the next game.
I want to say
yes. Yes, do it.
But that's just
do it. You got to do it.
I like Harrison for sure. But I'm the Brooks guy. So like I think Brooks is like the stud at the end of the season that carries you. Like that's where I'm at with these guys. So it really depends on how you view London and Tank Dell. If you think it's an upgrade, sure, you can do it for Montgomery. I'm fine with that. But personally, I'm on the Brooks side.
Yeah, if you're struggling right now, I mean, that's the thing. I think you need to make this move. If you are not struggling and you can hang on, I don't mind holding those guys, but really you're holding, like Jesse's talking about, for Jonathan Brooks. Tank will be up and down because of the situation. Drake London will be up and down because of the situation, and doesn't look like he has a massive ceiling. Marv has that ceiling. You're going to see it more often than not, and Montgomery is a locked in RB2 with RB1 spike potential if he scores more than once.
Next game, we've got the Eagles at the Bucks. Let's see the matchups here. It's 7th best matchup for Jalen Hurts. Baker, it's not a great one. 22nd best matchup. Obviously, Hurts is a top 5. I don't know where I have him this week. I'm at 2, and I still have Baker. I have Baker at 14. I have Baker 1 after Daniel Jones. That's kind of a scary notion. Where do you guys have these two?
I'm a little bit worried. The Eagles absolutely destroyed the Saints up front last week. They could do that to the Bucks again this week, and that could be a problem for Baker. So I'm a little bit like he's in that QB 15 range for me. Like I'm not as high as I was just because the Eagles showed up last week. If we see some of that defense like we kind of expected from them, it could be issues for the Bucks O-line because they do have O-line issues. So I'm a little bit worried about Baker. Yeah, Hurts is always a top 5 quarterback. He's just that good.
Yeah, the difference for me is I have Hurts at 6, so proving Jesse wrong. But also, Baker I have at 8 at the moment. I may end up pushing him down a few spots, but I think he's a QB1 this week. The thing that we saw with Baker last week is Mike Evans was absolutely obliterated by Patrick Surtain. That's not going to happen this week. There's no one that can take care of Evans. Godwin will eat. McMillan might even get involved in this game, and we know they have the back rotation, keeping White fresh. So I like Baker a lot this week, even though Philly looked good last week.
All right, running backs, not a great one for Rachaad White, 21st best matchup, 6th best matchup for Barkley. He's obviously a must start. He's my RB1 on the week. Where did I drop White down? I have White way down at 27. I have kind of slowly jumped off the Rachaad White train here. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I'm at 22. Like they're going to be more than likely trailing in this game. This is where it helps Rachaad White, which is weird. You don't think about it, but negative game scripts are where he's going to succeed. So I don't mind him in this matchup. He's a back end RB2. I just think they're going to be trailing throughout this game and behind. And if that's the case, Bucky's not going to be getting those carries. It's going to be Rachaad White getting the target. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, sure. Great. Saquon, I'll say, look, he's my RB3, not my RB1 this week, counting on a little bit of progression. But yeah, he's a monster. You play him. White, 23. So those are the guys. Bucky, you can flex them if you need to. I don't love it this week because I want the pass catching back.
Pass catchers, 22nd best matchup for the Eagles, 4th best matchup for the Bucks. So it is a great one. I think I have AJ Brown highest if you're assuming he's healthy, which is a big assumption. I think I have all 4 of these guys clumped together here. I'm still looking. Where the hell do I have these guys? Where do you guys got these guys? Well, I'm trying to find all 4 of them. Oh, I have Mike Evans at 11. That's my highest. What do you guys
Well,
have?
then also the Devonta Smith injury too. Like this, I'm TBD on the Eagles pass catchers because I need to see what's going on with them this week. It hasn't fully come out yet, so
You read my
I haven't
mind.
really ranked those guys yet. Yeah, so I'm in on like Evans is back to being a wide receiver 1. Godwin's back, like they're right there because to Jeremy's point, Evans doesn't have the matchup issue that he had last week. So Evans and Godwin are both going to eat. Godwin has been like one of the best uses in the NFL. Fire both those guys.
I have Evans as my 9 and Godwin as my 11. I couldn't find the 2 Eagles because I don't currently have them in because it doesn't look like either of them will play. So that solves that mystery. What do you got, Jeremy?
Godwin at 8, Evans at 12. I love their matchup. I'm firing them up. McMillan's even interesting as like a deep league flex if you really need him. On the other end, the Eagles have a bye in week 5. I'd say it's highly likely Brown and Smith sits this one out. That means Goddard is Mr. Necessary and Barkley is going to eat again, but I'm fading Hurts.
3rd and 4th worst matchup for the tight ends here. So I'm definitely not playing K-Dot in anyways. I have Dallas Goedert at tight end 6 this week. That's not great. That just tells you how bad this tight end market is. So what do you guys got here?
Yeah, I've got her at tight end 2. This is with the expectation that those guys don't play for the Eagles. So it really depends on what happens. But yeah, he'll absolutely be a focal point if there is no Hurts if there's no Brown or Smith. Like it's gonna be Goddard and Saquon again. So like I'm fine rolling with Goddard once again.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm starting Goddard over Kyle Pitts this week. Pitts facing New Orleans. We're about to talk about him.
You got it.
I am debating Kelsey or Goddard this week. Kelsey's my 4, Goddard my 5 at the moment.
All right, we will move on to the game you mentioned. New Orleans Saints at Atlanta Falcons. The quarterbacks here are 10th best matchup for Derek Carr. Where the hell is Atlanta? 24th best matchup for Kirko. I still imagine he's higher in my rankings. This is going to be an interesting one because I think Derek Carr, actually they're back-to-back, 22nd for Carr, 23rd for Cousins. I think they're going opposite ways. I think Carr's going to, Carr might stay there, but I think Kirk is going to start moving up from week to week. But for now, they're both low-end QB2s. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I also have them back-to-back. They're QB 20 and 21 with this slight boost for Carr in the meantime just because the offense has been really good. But yeah, so like they lost their center. It's going to be very important for the pass protection to see how it goes. Yeah, they're back in like mid-range QB2s from this week. I do worry about the matchup a little bit.
Yeah, Carr's at 19. I pushed him up above guys like Fields and Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson. Caleb Williams is like my litmus test week to week. He's even got a good matchup. But like we talked about, he threw the ball 50 plus times last week. That's not going to happen this week, even against a good Rams offense. So I've Carr above Caleb and Kirk below Caleb facing the Saints.
All right, the running backs, 3rd worst matchup for Kamara, 22nd best matchup for Bijan. So we continue to see some bad matchups for good running backs. Bijan I have as my 3. Kamara falls all the way down to 8 behind Jordan Mason. Where do you guys have them? Still both top 12 for you, and I assuming we're not interested in Tyler Algier, I guess as a desperation, 6-point projection. I have no interest in Jamal Williams, but so what do we think here? Bijan, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, Bijan just has a little bit better role, so I'm always going to rank him above Kamara. But Kamara's played so far above expectation, it's just absurd. Like it's RB3 and RB5, I think. I have Kamara 1 spot above Mason just because he's playing New England, so a little bit worried about that. But yeah, like they're locked in for me.
Yeah, Kamara's my 2, Bijan my 5. I'm debating Bijan or Connor this week. Given their matchups, I might move James Conner ahead of him, but Bijan is top 6 still.
Receivers, mediocre matchups for both 18th and 19th, respectively. I think these are going to be close. I have Olave at 15 and London at 19. Shaheed is probably the only other one I have ranked. I'm going to have to scroll a bit. I know He didn't play well last week. I have him down at 31, so a low end 3. What do you guys got here? Is it just basically the 3 of them?
You could also throw out Mooney too. Like Mooney's been the second option of that offense. So I know the Kyle Pitts stuff we can talk about. Like I would rather start Mooney over Kyle Pitts based on his usage and involvement with the team. I have Mooney as like a top 40 wide receiver, and it's really not going to change until that changes. So Shaheed's above him just because he's an explosive monster. He's like 33. Mooney's at 40, and then both those guys are like mid-range wide receiver 2s. Olave could push it to wide receiver 1, like he's that good.
Yeah, love Olave this week. He is my wide receiver 13, so right on the cusp, like you mentioned. Rashid, I'm going back to the well here and flexing Rashid Shaheed. He dropped those 2 long bombs, one that was a clear-cut touchdown if he's just able to haul it in with a hand kind of in his face. He doesn't have the greatest hands, but he has the speed. And against that Atlanta secondary, which is not super daunting, I think he's going to be able to get behind them again. But that said, if you need these guys, Mooney, even Ray, who's getting the targets, which is weird. They're a lot closer to Drake London, unfortunately, than we want to admit at this stage of the season. So Olave, London, and then Shaheed, and maybe the other guys.
5th best matchup for Pitts, 12th best matchup for Juwan Johnson. I have Pitts at tight end 6. I'm still going back to the well here. Juwan Johnson, I have quite a bit lower. I have him down in the low 20s. So I guess you could also include Taysom Hill in here, who's probably the upside. Well, one's got more upside, but Juwan Johnson seems to have more red zone touchdowns. I don't know. It's Kyle Pitts for me here at 6, and no thank you to the rest. What do you guys think?
Yeah, if you're playing Saints tight end, just play the one you think is going to score a touchdown, because that's what you're shooting with that tight end room. I know I've been down on Pitts. It's really hard to rank him outside the top 10 tight ends just because the tight end position sucks. So he's like tight end 8 for me, and you just live with it. Like it's kind of just is what it is.
Yeah. And the Saints were historically really good against tight ends over the last, decade. Now in the early season, they are the 5th worst against tight ends, giving up those fantasy points to them. So they're clamping down elsewhere, right? They're still a good defense, but they've kind of been allowing the tight ends to eat a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Pitts has a decent game, but it's not going to be exceptional. So he's my tight end 6.
Somebody must follow Derek Brown. Derek Brown constantly hypes them up.
Ooh.
Before we get into the next game, I like that. I don't hate this. I think Eric All in his limited time has looked actually pretty damn good. He looks super athletic. And if you assume that Mike Gesicki's going to be gone next year, possibly T. Higgins, I think Eric All for a 25-second could be awesome.
It's fine. I would say just instead of doing this, just go buy Njoku for a second. Like why play the projection game with Eric All? Like you're basically paying what you expect him to do. You don't have to do that. Go get a guy that produces or Ferguson. You could probably get. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't mind it.
That's the problem. I think you have to pay a first for Ferguson or Njoku.
I don't think so.
I think so. I wouldn't trade them away on any of my teams for a second.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's giving me a first for Njoku or Ferguson, I'll gift wrap them and send them to you happily. So here you go.
The second is too much, but I get it if you really feel strongly about a player. That said, I'm not paying that price. I think I feel strongly about him. I picked him up in a few leagues off of waivers. I have him stashed in, 1 or 2 more on the taxi, but that's a bit much.
No, it wasn't me. I don't have any shares of him. I agree. It's more than I would have paid. I think you could have got him for a third. I would have happily paid a third. If I'm in a rebuild and I have an abundance of picks, I might have paid a second. I guess it depends on where the second is. I feel much more comfortable with a third, but I don't hate it for a second. I don't love it, but all right. Excuse me. Next up, New England Patriots, San Francisco 49ers. It is where the hell is he? 18th best matchup for Brock Purdy, 16th for Jacoby Brissett. We hope it's Jacoby Brissett. Good Lord, please, against the San Fran defense, don't let it be Drake May for his own safety. He'll get Zach Wilson here. I have Brock Purdy as my QB 15 on the week, and Jacoby Brissett, what's the lowest number I ranked to? 34. That's the lowest number I ranked to for quarterbacks. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I mean, like San Francisco hasn't been that good against quarterbacks to start the season early. Obviously, we expect that to change a little bit because the defense is still really good, but they're middle of the pack. They're 16th in fantasy points allowed. So Brissett, the issue is I just don't trust this offense. So he's going to be in the bottom of the barrel. Like for as long as he's starting, it just kind of is what it is. He doesn't have much upside. So yeah. And Purdy's, I think, is QB 13, 14 for me. Yeah, he's right there. Like borderline QB1 this week.
Yeah, I'm pushing Purdy down. He's my QB 20 at the moment. I just don't think they need him to do anything here against this team. We saw New England last week against, I believe it was the Jets, right? They scored 3 points. This is a similar defense. They're not going to be able to do much. Maybe they get to 10, 13 points, but they're not going to need Purdy. Mason, he's not going to throw 3 touchdowns this game. I don't think so. He's my QB 20. Jacoby Brissett. We were debating off air before whether you'd rather start Jacoby Brissett or Taylor Heineke of the Los Angeles Chargers. Assuming he starts this week, we picked Heineke. So
not even close.
Drop Brissett. Just drop it. Why?
Yeah,
running backs, 12th best matchup for Ramondre, 18th for Jordan Mason. I think I have Mason at 8, and I have Ramondre as 26. I think I'd like to move Ramondre up. I get it. This is a tough, maybe not. You know what? 26 is fine. They're going to have to pass. They're going to be down. San Fran's a good defense. So 8 and 26 is where I have these two. I don't really have any interest in Antonio Gibson. Garendo's a stash for me. What do you guys think of the running back situation here?
Yeah, I put Ramondre at RB20. I'm kind of fine with that. I think he's going to be involved in the game this week. Like they tried to involve him, just it was a nightmare game for him. Everything went wrong. So I expect him to bounce back. His usage is still really good. And yeah, Mason's on the 49ers offense. He's going to be an RB1 until CMC comes back.
Yep. Ramondre 27, Mason at 13. I like Brian Robinson's matchup more. I like Achane. I like Cook. So I just pushed him down a little bit because he's facing a stout front, but you fire him up.
The receivers in this one, it is the 9th best matchup for whoever the hell is playing receiver for the 49ers. 7th best matchup for whoever the hell is playing receiver at the Patriots. This one's tough to project because we don't know who the hell's starting. Ayuk, I have the highest. If Debo plays, he's the next highest. I don't really want anyone else. If you manage, I have Juwan Jennings as like 31 right now. That's a placeholder. The second I find out Debo's back, I'm wiping him right off my board, like down to 50. Mm-hmm. I have no interest in anyone here besides Ayuk and Debo. I get it. If you got Juwan Jennings, sell high to someone who thinks maybe, he can do this again. But for me, it's Ayuk in this game and then Debo. What do you guys think?
Just right out the Juwan Jennings things. He's going to be a wide receiver too, as long as he's playing in this role and when those guys are out, right? So I'm fine firing him up. And then Ayuk, he should bounce back. It was a Jennings game last week. We should expect the issue is he has Christian Gonzalez this week. So we'll see if he shadows him or not. Christian Gonzalez is a good defender, but we saw DK Metcalf. He torched Christian Gonzalez. It's entirely possible that could happen with Ayuk because he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Yeah, fire up both 49ers. You could do Demario Douglas, I guess, if you want and expect him trailing, but I'm just not interested in any Patriots pass catching.
Yeah, agree with that point, and agree with the Juwan Jennings point. He's probably more likely to do what you expected him to do last week before he went absolutely off. He was a back end flex where he was the last guy that you could flex. And it worked out for you this week. It could work out for you again, but don't assume he's going to get in the end zone.
So tight ends, it's the worst matchup for Hunter Henry. If you're playing him, you're praying for a garbage time touchdown. Middle of the pack matchup for George Kittle. I have him at 12. I don't know what he's going to be doing here. If he plays, if we get word that he's playing, I will move him up, and he's going to be 3 for me if I get word that he does play. If not, then he's out. You're not playing Henry here. It's Kittle or bust, basically.
Yeah, if Henry's usage dramatically declined last week, and that's the whole issue with him. I don't know why they shifted out from going to him because he was a featured part of that offense and he was breaking the war and the warp scale and all that stuff. And then week 3 happens and they're like, we're not going to do Henry anymore. So it's really hard to trust Henry at this point. You fire up Kittle just because he's George Kittle and you know how good he is, but I really don't want to play Henry. I'm a little terrified of him this week.
Yeah, and I think Kittle, has a chance, but if he's injured and hobbled, I might consider a few other guys over him. Mm-hmm. I do think he's going to play because he's he's an animal. He's going to want to play, and the 49ers have lost 2 straight, so they want him to play as well.
if he's out this week, where would you guys fire up Saubert?
Who?
The backup tight ends.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm glad you understood what he was saying because I thought you were talking about Seibert, the kicker for Washington. I was like, how does this affect Seibert? I'm like, what? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you win. I
touchdown dependent tight end. Like, yeah.
Let's take that as a pass and move on to Minnesota and Green Bay. When I think your tight end is confused for a kicker and I'd rather start the kicker, that tells you all you need to know.
Week four.
Quarterbacks. 19th best matchup for Darnold. 25th best matchup for Love, Willis, whoever the fuck it is. This is going to be scary. I don't know if I have Jordan Love in my rankings yet. If he plays, he's going to be top 12. For now, I have Darnold at 22 and I have it Willis and Love both at 26, 27 because you can see I'm hedging my bets. So what do you guys have?
Yeah, if Love plays, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that I have both significantly higher. I'm assuming at the moment that Love plays, we don't know, but they were saying he was practicing last week. Maybe could have played last week. If he plays, I have Jordan Love at 13. I'm hedging both against the Minnesota defense that has looked phenomenal already, and there's no signs that they're going to be slowing down given their trajectory. But I have Sam Darnold at 12, even against a good defense. It's just Kevin O'Connell. Justin Jefferson, these guys are awesome. The running game and the running backs, especially in the passing game, have been amazing. Sam knows how to check down. So, give me both of these guys wherever I'm playing, if they're playing.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this matchup because we get two of the best offensive schemers. We have freaking Lester Frazier, who's been a nightmare for quarterbacks the past few weeks. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how this goes for these guys. They're QB2s, like high-end QB2s. I like both of them in this matchup. It could go a lot of different ways based on the talent and scheme and all that fun stuff. So I'm excited for this game.
Running back, 6th worst matchup for Jacobs. 13th best matchup for Aaron Jones, who is going to serve up a revenge game shit burger here and just destroy his old fucking team. I have him at 11 overall. RB 11. I have Jacobs at 16. That seems a little low, but they're both high-end 2s. I guess Jones is a low-end 1, but I see a lot of people picking up Emmanuel Wilson. That seems like a bigger waste of fab budget than Juwan Jennings, but that's just me. I'd personally rather have Ty Chandler over Emmanuel Wilson, but so 2 high-end RB2s here for you guys, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I have Aaron Jones at RB10. It usually has been really good, and that offense has been awesome. So until that changes, like I'm going to keep him in that range. Jacobs, I want to see who's going to be the quarterback because it's going to change. If it's Love, I'll push him up a few spots, even though it's a bad matchup. He's currently RB14. I'm kind of like hedging a little bit with Jacobs, but if Love comes back and he plays, I'll push Jacobs right alongside Aaron Jones, where they're both back in RB1s.
Yeah, Aaron was talking about our biases earlier in the show. I can't get away from my Josh Jacobs bias. I just don't like him as a fantasy guy, and I know he continues to produce, but he's my RB19. I can't do it with him, especially against Minnesota here. They're going to sell out to stop him, especially if Love is not playing. If Love is playing, it becomes harder. I understand that, but on the other end, Aaron Jones is my RB9, so I'm right with you there, Jesse. And like Aaron, you said, the Aaron Jones revenge game in full effect this week.
Yeah, if Jordan Love doesn't play, Jacobs drops from, what did I say, Adam, at 16? He drops from like 16 to more like 20 or 22. He looked terrible last week. Wide receivers here, not really a factor for the matchups. 13th best matchup for the Packers, 16th for the Vikings. This one's easily going to be Justin Jefferson highest at 3. Then we're going to scroll a while. I have Jaden Reed at 17. And then pretty much even if Jordan Addison plays, the other 3 Packers receivers, they're all cluttered around the 30s and 40s for me. So you have a high-end stud. You have probably a good wide receiver too. And then a bunch of guys I could desperation flex, but I'm not really looking to target. How about you guys?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's eternal. He's Justin Jefferson. He never leaves like the top 7 wide receivers every week. That's how he is. Jaden Reed, I want to see with Jordan Love because it's entirely dependent. Like I know he scored a touchdown last week. I don't want to chase that. If Jordan Love comes back, I'll have him in that range. Right now, he's like wide receiver 33. And then Naylor's right alongside him because if Addison misses out, Naylor's been very viable and can get you points. So He's like wide receiver 38 at the moment. If Addison plays, I'll push him up, but I'm not sure with Addison how it's gonna go.
Yeah, like I get the fact that you want to fade Jaden Reed if Love is out, but if Love is in there, it was against Philadelphia, but week 1, Jaden Reed was the wide receiver 1. He was an absolute monster. I don't expect him to do that, but he's my wide receiver 18. I have no issue with him. And Jesse, you mentioned the Fantasy Pros article that's coming out probably later today on our buy lows. Jaden Reed is my buy low. 2 down weeks without Love. Love coming back. He's the number 1 target in this offense with Love, and I want all the Jaden Reed. Get him now. He's going to have a good game.
Well, if Jeremy's done shamelessly self-promoting, we can move on to the tight ends. Both have top 10 matchups for both, and I do not give a flying fuck about either. Nice. You guys have anything interesting here to say about the tight ends, or just barf?
No, just no. Don't do it.
Who are they?
Yeah, you thought it was bad with Saubert? No, thank you.
Yeah.
Saubert. No, it's Johnny Munt and the combination of Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. They're
just
No.
If I could trust one of the freaking Packers tight ends to run all the routes, sure.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Love shows up, sure. But there's like 3 question marks we gotta check off before we can do it. So no, thank you.
They're all outside the top 20 tight ends in my rankings, and given how bad tight end is, I could say something.
You're just chasing touchdowns with those guys. That's all you're doing.
Oh, I got Tucker Kraft at 20.
Oh, you're fucking way too high.
Watch out.
All right, next game, Rams and Bears we got. Matthew Stafford gets the 3rd worst matchup and the 3rd best matchup for Caleb Williams, who looks to build on his best game of his short career. I have Williams at 13. I think I have him as my start of the week in the article. I think he finishes as a QB1 for the first time in his career. And I have Stat Padford all the way down at QB 29. Where do you guys have this one?
Yeah, I'm with you on Williams this week. He's good plays. QB 16 for me. I want to fire him up. Like, we saw that they were entirely dependent on him last week, and I know it was 52 pass attempts, but he put up numbers, so I'm fine with it. And Stafford, the thing that sucks is the touchdowns did just not go his way last week. It would have been a lot better, but they fed Kyron the touchdown, so I expect him to rest. He's quarterback 22, 1 spot above Aaron Rodgers this week for me. I get it. It's not the best matchup, but like Stafford's too good. It's hard for me to fade him too much.
Yeah, a unanimous Caleb over Stafford this week. Ridiculous. I'm not as high on Caleb, but he's 21 and Stafford 23. I just think it's going to be ugly for both of these offenses overall.
All right, running backs, top 10 matchup for both. 8th for the Bears, 10th for the Rams. The highest for me is going to be Kyron at 6. I don't love it. He probably needs to come down. My highest ranked Bear is Roschon Johnson. He is at 28. I get it. That's scary. I prefer Roschon. I think he's taking over this job. Having said that, I don't really want to start any other running backs here besides Kyron Williams. How about you guys?
Yeah, just hard pass on the Bears running backs until this gets figured out, because this could go a bunch of different ways. Herbert could get a bunch of rushing attempts, like Roschon could be like doing, and then Swift. I'm not playing a Bears running back. I don't want to do it. I just don't know how to predict it. It's too sketchy. But if you're bullish on a guy, fire one up, because they could have a good game. I just have no idea how to predict it. But Swift sucks. I'll just say that.
It sucks. Jesse, I didn't hear where you have Kyron. I heard Aaron say he was 6. I pushed him down this week. That Bears front is just a little bit scary to me. He's my RB16. My biggest issue is Puka and Kupp are nowhere to be found, certainly this week. And I just think that NFL defenses are not going to allow Kyron Williams to do that. I don't think the Rams, until those receivers return, are going to score 3 touchdowns in a game, let alone have a player score 3 touchdowns in a game like Kyron did last week. So I really just don't see it for him. And he was my sell high this week. Yeah, I just Kyron, he may not have a game like that again this season.
Yeah, he basically played every snap, had 26, 28 opportunities. I don't give a fuck, man. Like, I'm playing Kyron. That usage is too high to fade him.
You're playing him.
Yeah, I definitely play him. He's my RB10. Like, I can only fade him so much. Like, I get it. Even without the touchdowns, it's fine. Like, he's just really good. So it is what it is.
I think I can make this trade. How about you guys? Lamar's probably a significant upgrade. Yeah. Higgins, who knows? I get it. You're probably overpaying a little, but if you believe Higgins is going to be back and healthy and productive, don't make the deal. if you think Higgins is what he was last year, I think I can make this deal.
Yeah, I'd be fine with this deal. It's fine. Like
It's
the thing
serious.
about Higgins, and I like Monty, but they're never going to be high-end difference makers. That just kind of is what it is. So I'm fine making that move to get Lamar personally.
I'm worried about Lamar this week. I would be really surprised if he has a great game against Buffalo. I think there's going to be more buying opportunities for him in the future.
All right, back to this one. Second best matchup for the Bears receivers, sixth worst for the Rams receivers. I have 3 Bears receivers ranked ahead of my highest Ram receiver, and I'm not even considering it. Like it is DJ Moore at 16, and then I have 2 in the 20s here. Adunze at 28, Keenan Allen at 32, assuming he plays and is healthy. My highest is Demarcus Robinson, and I'm still scrolling. He's at 48, so yeah. It's not even close. What do you guys think?
I think what we saw with the Rams without Puka and Kupp, the guy that makes an impact in the offense is Tutu Atwell. Like he's the guy that can do big plays and stuff like that. So he'll be my highest ranked of those guys. But yeah, I don't want to do a Rams wide receiver. They just didn't pass enough, and that's a big problem. So yeah, if Keenan Allen doesn't play, it'll be a big boost for Komet. But yeah, it's going to be DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. They're both in the low 20s for me this week. I like both of those guys. I should probably push them up. But if Keenan Allen plays, yeah, I'll have 3 Bears receivers inside the top 30 this week.
Yeah, and the Chicago Bears secondary has been surprisingly really, really good. They've had the players all along, but they're really putting it together this year. And only 6 teams have given up fewer fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And then you look at these wide receivers, and you're like, "There's no way that's happening." That's why we're all fading Stafford. Yeah. The Bears, top to bottom, have a decent defense, but that secondary is really good.
Tight ends, 4th best matchup for Cole Kmet, 15th best for Colby Parkinson. I think Kmet, Kmet is not in my top 12. He's 13th. Colby Parkinson's at 16. I guess they're both streamable if you have to. Not looking to target either. Cole Kmet drops significantly if we find out that Keenan Allen's back, but for now he's playable. What do you guys have?
If Allen doesn't play, Kmet gets a massive boost. He becomes like a top 8 tight end just because this defense is not good enough to stop this passing attack. Like that's just entirely what it is. So I'll fire up Kmet easily. If Allen plays, then yeah, he becomes that borderline streamer, kind of similar to Parkinson.
I think everyone seems to be assuming injury for a lot of the top tight ends. We might not see McBride. We might not see Laporta. We might not see Kincaid this week. If that's really all the case, I mean, Kmet is necessary start. He's got the better matchup. I don't want much of Parkinson, but if you have to.
The bar for a top 12 tight end is normally like 7 points. It might even be
so
freakishly lower this week. So we'll get to this question before we start the last one here. Bengals Panthers trade James Conner, Freiermuth for McBride.
It's tough.
I don't know if I really want to do that.
I don't think so.
Like Conner.
I really like James Conner.
That's the thing. Like I think Conner's impact. As much as I like McBride, like I want the difference making running back over the difference making tight end. That's kind of how I view the two. So if you have enough depth, but you have like Walker, Jonathan Taylor, like you can make this move. It's fine. It really benefits you because your tight end is Hunter Henry. So actually looking at your roster, like I'm fine with that deal. I don't mind.
Yeah, maybe you can if you look at the roster.
Yeah, it makes more sense for the roster, just the roster build.
If you're a good team, yes. If you need a W this week, I probably don't do this.
Yeah, you could probably wait, but like you're doing the Hunter Henry experience again, and that's not fun at tight end.
True.
All right, final NFC home game: Bengals at Panthers. 14th best matchup for Andy Dalton because we're gonna somehow do this again. Anyways.
Here we are.
8th best matchup for Joe Burrow, and the fact that I have to check who's higher in my rankings is truly horrifying. I'm sure it's Burrow. It is. He's at 6, but I have Andy Dalton as a top 20 quarterback 19. Because of course it's 2024. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Living the good life, man. Yeah, we ride the red rifle. Let's go. Yeah, Burrow should dominate. Like you can see the projection difference. Like, yeah, it's definitely Burrow. Like he's going to absolutely destroy this defense. Dalton should give you borderline good production in this game. So yeah, fire him. If you need a streamer this week, you can stream Andy Dalton.
Yep. And I will do Burrow over Dalton as well, but Andy Dalton, whatever. That guy, he was throwing like he looked so good.
Yes.
He's not going to look that good again. But this Cincinnati secondary should be better than they've been. They're like middle of the road in fantasy points allowed, and they do not look good. Cam Taylor-Britt keeps getting beaten. That shouldn't be happening. So, it is what it is. You can play them both.
It's 2024, and we're talking about starting Andy Dalton. What I need is a red rifle to put in my mouth. Running backs, 5th best matchup for Zach Moss. Then we've got Chuba Hubbard gets the 16th best matchup. I think they're both going to be on the 2-3 border for me. Chubbard is 20. Moss is 18. So they're 18 and 20. So mid-range RB2s for me. I don't really want anyone else here. Chase Brown, no thank you. Miles Sanders, no thank you. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like they're back in RB2s. I think Mouse has more upside just based on my offense this week. So I'm going to have him a few spots above Hubbard. I think he's a running back like 18. Hubbard's a running back like 23. But I like both these guys and you can fire them up. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Zach Moss is my RB 15 this week. Looked really good last week. Finished as the RB 9.5 PPR, and now he faces Carolina. So yeah, fire him up. They trust him. They're giving him all the work. Chase Brown more involved last week, so I don't mind him as a flex. But yeah, it's Moss, Hubbard, Brown.
All right, the receivers, 14th best matchup for the Bengals, 25th best matchup for the Panthers, and Deontay Johnson has resurrected, and the FFU is back to full chub once again. My highest in this matchup, I have Chase as 4. I have Deontay at 22, and then Higgins, I don't know because I don't know if he's healthy. I don't have him in my rankings. I don't think I have anyone else in here. Leggett, Yoshivas. I know Yoshivas was playable last week, but I think it was like 2 catches and 1 touchdown. So we have a one.
Red zone
what?
monster. Red zone monster. Andre Yoshivas.
What do you guys have here for the receivers?
Yeah, Higgins got shut down. So last week was kind of a rough go for him. I have him and Deontay back-to-back, wide receiver 24, wide receiver 25. Jamar Chase is wide receiver 7 for me. I'm fine with all 3 of those guys.
Yeah. Jesse, I am disappointed in your Deontay Johnson ranking this week. I'll get to him in a second. We'll go from bottom down. T. Higgins, wide receiver 24. He'll get a little bit of volume, especially against this defense. My wide receiver 15 this week is Deontay Johnson. Let's go. It's time. It was time last week. It's time again. This is the season of Deontay Johnson. I don't think that slows down. And Adam Thielen is probably out for the season with a horrific hamstring pull, tear, whatever happened there. So Deontay is the only guy here. Him and Hubbard, or like you mentioned, Brooks, are the guys that you want going forward in this offense. Jamar Chase, my wide receiver 1 again this week. Had him wide receiver 1 last week. Juwan Jennings, performed some sort of mystical spell on the NFL, and Chase was the wide receiver 2 last week. But I think he dominates once again.
Yeah, I'd say just keep an eye on Leggett without Thielen, how his role is going to grow. Because it should. He's a rookie wide receiver, right? And there's no other competition. So I want to see how that works out for him. He could be somebody we play down the road.
And on that note, let's close it out with the tight ends. 3rd best matchup for Mike Gesicki. 25th best matchup for Tommy Tremble. I think I have Gesicki as low. Where the hell is Gesicki? Oh, never mind. I have Gesicki as tight end 9, which tells you how bad tight end is. Sure. I'm not even scrolling down to Tommy Tremble. I don't care. What do you guys have?
Yeah, he had the same amount of receptions as Eric All that we were just talking about last game. So his usage is like they need to combine it into one player. I just think the thing is like All's good and he's going to push him for a while. So yeah, he's like a mid-range RB2 for me. I'm not doing it Panthers side end. Like just no, thank you. Not doing it.
Yeah. There may be someone who becomes necessary there. It might be Tremble, but you just can't trust that on a weekly basis until you see it for a few more weeks in Carolina. Gesicki, unfortunately, is playable. It is what it is.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. I guess check back tomorrow at noon. We will do the AFC home games, which have a Sunday nighter and 2 more Monday nighters. I don't know why we're doing this every week with these 2 Monday nighters, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon to preview them. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow.